At what point, if yet, did this become routine for you and you became somewhat comfortable in the setting you have to work in these days?
Well, for guys with gray hair like you, and not me, this is a little bit strange, because this is not Big Chief notebook time. This is time when, we've actually talked about this when we first arrived here. The fact that sometimes as coaches, you have to be willing to get out of your zone, right? Get out of your place of comfort and go into another place. And for our guys, they've lived on FaceTime and they've lived in these Zoom meetings before. So it's a little bit of an adjustment for us. But at the end of the day, just like we talk about in recruiting, if you want to establish relationships with people you're recruiting, and if you want to establish relationships with your fans, and if you want to establish relationship with your players and you're committed to doing that, then, this is where we are. This is our new norm.
And just one more, if I can. I know you're so passionate about recruiting. How do you think kids have responded to this? You kind of reference how they're used to some of these things. Maybe are they responding to it maybe differently than we are?
Well, honestly, we talk about some of the stress that our players are going through, and I think high school kids recruits some of these kids because in some cases kids had the vision of them coming on a visit, visiting these different campuses, and then committing at a certain point here, at the end of spring, and that's not going to happen. And so some of those kids are stressing out as well. So when we get on the phone with them, I think we try to spend time lifting them up as well. One of the things that one of the messages that we try to give to our players through all this is, man, you have to make sure that you stay in the huddle, right? Now, I know offense and defense, we're really fast-paced nowadays, but we want to keep them in the huddle, right? Because when you're in the huddle, you get warnings, you get alerts, right? When you're in the huddle, you get encouragement, you get lifted up. And when you're in the huddle, you get direction, you get instruction. So even though our players are spread all over the country and we're recruiting kids all over the country, we do everything we can to try to keep them in the huddle. And, when it comes to the message, again, we can choose to be negative and think about how bad this thing is, or we can be positive. And if you know our staff at all, if you know Coach Kleiman at all, you got to know that we're going to choose to be positive, and we're going to try to choose to find ways that we can get something out of this place that we're in.
Hey, man, John Kurtz with K-Man. With the current circumstances, how do you find an edge on your competition, knowing that everybody is dealing with this same thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's what I've talked to our guys and I've talked to recruits about is that, man, there's some ways that you can get better, right? If you go look at which we've kind of done that as a staff, if you go look at every one of the games you played in, what are those things that you can improve upon, right? I'm talking about go back to the lab and start over, right? In our lives, we really never have time to do that, right? Because we're always busy living. But there's not a lot of there's not a lot of activity going on in these kids' lives and in ours as coaches. So it's time to slow down, go back, and let's remake ourselves in a lot of different ways. Not just talking football, but in a lot of different ways. And so that's an edge to me, because Brock Monty, one of our players, said it early on when he had an opportunity to do a video for the team. He said that, the best teams, the greatest teams, and Coach always says it as well, will be the teams that handle this the right way, will be the teams that understand the challenges that are placed in this situation, right? For me as an individual, confined, locked away in a setting, well, what am I doing with that time? Am I wasting that time, or am I making the most of that time? And the teams across America, high school, college, that individually make the most of those times, they're going to be the teams that you'll see having success.
Also curious, with you adding the assistant head coach to your title here fairly recently, right before all this happened. How much of the logistics of trying to figure all this out has fallen on your shoulders with that new role?
Well, I was really excited about that opportunity, and there have been some days where it's been a challenge, but that's what we do this for. Is we do this for challenges. So I've been really impressed to be able to work alongside Coach Kleiman and to watch how he has led this program as we have guys all over the country. So what I've really tried to do is always offer support to him. Always ask, okay, what do you need me to handle in this situation? What can I do, right? What can I do more? Because, I think being a head coach, being the leader of the program, it can be lonely at times, right? Because your decisions, right, they affect a whole lot of people. They affect families. And so I let him make the really tough ones. And then once it's all settled, I kind of come in and pick up the pieces. And that was
Thanks,
a joke.
man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Go ahead, D. Scott. You're on mute, just so you know.
Ben, you've worn a lot of hats during your great career. Defense coordinator, quality control coach, cornerbacks coach. How does your title of passing game coordinator, how does that differ? What are the responsibilities involved with that in comparison to just being quarterbacks coach?
Well, really it's not much, right? Because one of the things I think that is very important is that when our defensive coaches speak, there's one voice, and that voice is Coach Klanderman. And so what I do in that role is I really support him in our defensive pass coverage attack, right? And how we will defend the opponent's passing game. But that's what I've always done, And so at the end of the day, I've worked with a lot of defensive backs coaches, and when you have two defensive back coaches on a defense, it's almost like two people in the kitchen. They're bumping into each other. But I like what Joe and I do. We mesh well together, and I've had great joy in working with him. And he's an organized, he's an open-minded, innovative coach, and so I'm excited about being able to support him in his new role.
If I can ask you really quick as well, AJ Parker comes off the injury. What's his determination been like? And then also, players have been really, really high on Will Jones. Can you tell me about his potential?
Well, AJ, of course, suffered an injury in the season, and has worked really hard to regain himself. When a guy gets injured, there's a point where he's frustrated, where he's depressed. He wants to be out there, and so we've gone through all those emotions. And so now he's in the place where, he, like all of them, he just wants to be back to get things going again. So I'm excited about, what he's done and where he is. This is his final season. So, it should be time for him to be as excited as he is. Will, from the day he stepped on the campus, has been an exciting player to watch. He's a smart, heady player. He has incredible ability. He can run, right? And so the thing that we continually want him to do, which he's worked hard at that, and we were progressing really well with him gaining weight, you know what I mean? And I can see why all the players are excited about him, because he's always shown flashes of natural ability. And so we can't wait to be able to have him, give him the opportunity to get out there and do what he does best.
Hey, Coach, I got Kellis Robinette here. I got two for you if I can. First off, how much are you and Joe looking to shake things up on defense? Are we going to see many changes, or going to try to keep what Scotty had going?
Well, I think that, many of the things that Coach Hazelton instituted for us defensively, they were at the core of who this defense is, who this defensive staff is. And I don't think we'll stray far away from those things. Now, Scotty had a personality, and Joe, as a play caller, will have a personality. And so I think it'll be a little bit different there. But for the most part, I don't foresee us, making many wholesale changes.
Okay. And I also wanted to ask, I know he's not directly in your position group, but to have Justin Hughes back as a leader on defense, what will that mean next season?
Well, Justin, the only thing that he didn't do this season is run out there and play, but he coached on the sidelines. He coached during the games. He motivated players. He called players out. And so to have him back and healthy and moving in that direction is vital. And he's done a great job so far during this time, in terms of leading players, in terms of helping younger guys, in terms of motivating, in terms of being a guy that, guys like T. Denson and Levi Archer, those guys could lean on. And so, I'm excited to have Justin back. Of course, wish we wouldn't have lost him to injury when we did, but we're through that. And so I'm excited about what he continues to bring to our team.
Yeah, Ryan, can I go? Oh no, Mitch, go on. Go.
Let's go Mitch and then Ryan Black.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Whenever it is that you guys are able to resume some kind of activity, physical activities as a team together, how much do you think that the level of motivation on the parts of your defensive guys is going to factor in their ability to quickly return to a level that you want? And what do you see, from knowing the makeup of your guys that makes you feel good about, or not good, but how do you feel about their ability to, stay on task as best they can during this time?
Well, the thing that we've really stressed for guys is to continually seek improvement, right? And so if you are stationed away from home base, right, then if you, no matter what the circumstances are, we got guys lifting milk jugs and doing all things. They're not in the fancy weight room that they're accustomed to. And we kind of talked about this the other day. Well, the challenge is that you continually seek improvement every single day. And I'm not worried about our guys being motivated, because they know when they left here, they know that they had work to do. They had work to do. Different guys had work. They had to gain weight, right? And different guys had to get stronger, and different guys had to lock in and learn the system better, right? So there's always things that we have to improve upon. So I think that's motivation enough. Now then, when you couple it with the fact that they're isolated from their teammates, and for us, if you walk around our building, it says there's family all around, right? And we talk about family in recruiting. And so when these guys are away, and during this time, family is there's stress on that, you know what I mean? And so when you're committed to that, when you hold each other accountable to that, and I think we have a great group of leaders on our team that hold you accountable, the motivation, once they return, it'll be there. Because for some of these guys, man, football is their life, and when you take that away, sometimes we take things that are very important to us. Sometimes we take them for granted. And then when you're blessed to have it back, then you cherish it, you value it even more. And so that's what I would see in this situation once we're all back together.
Ryan and then Arnie.
Hey, Van, how you doing today?
How's it going? I'm doing great.
Well, kind of as a follow-up to what D. Scott asked, just how much, if anything, would AJ have been able to do this spring? I mean, would he have been able to do anything physically, or was he just completely focused on the rehab part?
No, he was, as we were in our workouts, he would do some things. So I thought he was progressing along well. And, as I've talked to him about where he is physically, of course, he could be rehabbing with our staff much better than he would be at home. But he did participate at different times in our morning workouts. And like I said, I thought he was progressing well. But, man, he's an athlete. He's a competitor. So I anticipate, him coming back full go.
Well, with him coming back and Walt coming back, I mean, you've got your 2 starters from last year, but Keevy graduated.
That was last year. That's
Well,
over.
Well, but the reason I bring that up though is just that with Keevy and then also Daryl Patterson moving on, who is it that you're expecting to step up to help Walt and AJ next season whenever that happens?
Yeah. Well, I jumped in and
Oh yeah, no, it's fine.
But it's important that that our guys always know that tomorrow is not at all connected to yesterday. So yeah, those guys they started some games last year, but that's about all that means. We have a couple guys who will enter our fold, actually 3. T. Denson, who was here and as a freshman, Justin Gardner, a junior college guy that we signed, and then we have a grad transfer who is coming our way as well. And so I'm excited about the group, right? I'm excited about the group because also in the group is Lance Robinson, who played in the place of AJ and Walt when those guys were injured. I'm excited about Echo, who's done a great job and who is really progressing well before the virus and us being able to break or us being forced to break away. So I'm excited about having those 2 guys who started a lot of games, who have played a lot of games in their careers, but I'm also excited about the new guys as they walk through the door and look to these guys for their leadership.
Let's finish it up with Arnie and then Austin.
Yeah, Van Arnie at the Salina Journal. Was just curious with the virus and everything and the change in defensive staff, how helpful was it to have that continuity instead of basically starting from scratch with no spring ball?
Yeah, if you think about that would have been quite a big deal, for our players to know that they would have to learn a new system, once they return. So for us as coaches, it's been refreshing to be able to know, for us to know the calls and for us to know the defenses and so that we can sharpen that, right? And we've had opportunity to meet with our players, and so as we're meeting with our players and we're instructing them and we're giving them learning lessons, it's not the same as it was as you're learning the system. It's not the same as it is as a coach when you're learning as they're learning, right? And so to have coaches be in the system for 2 years and players be in the system for multiple years, I think is an incredible advantage. And that's something that Coach Kleiman talked about, is he wanted to make sure that he kept the staff intact as best that he could, and that happened for us. So I think that's a great thing for our players, but then for our staff as well.
Go ahead, Austin.
Hey, Coach. Austin Siegel, K-State Athletics. One thing a lot of coaches seem to emphasize at K-State, regardless of sport, is the importance of getting kids to Manhattan, having them see campus. With that off the table, what aspects of the program culture have you been emphasizing to recruits this year?
Well, the thing about Manhattan is not necessarily the buildings, it's the people. And so, what we've tried to convey to kids that we have been recruiting during this time, as we jump on the phone with them 9 and 10 deep, is that you're important, right? And if you were not important, then we wouldn't be doing this. So we've tried to do things that the other teams are not doing in terms of recruiting. We've tried to take the extra step, the same things that we do with our players. And it's to us, it's just about being elite as recruiters and being elite as coaches. And when you make a commitment to be that, then those are the things that you do. You go the extra step. So when we talk about the fact that we can't get these kids to Manhattan, well, we're going to take Manhattan to them, right? We're going to take the locker room. We're going to take what we do with our players. We're going to take that to them. It's unfortunate that we don't have our players because they are the number one recruiters for our team. And, you know, the fact that we don't have that interaction between recruits and our current players, that's a challenge, you know. But what we've tried to do as coaching staffs, offensively and defensively, and Coach Kleiman, is just reach and do things that that other staffs across the country are not doing when it comes to conveying the message of family. Like I said, this is the time when everyone goes their own separate ways and they go into their shells, but not here at K-State and not this staff. And that's what we've shown to, you know, our players as well as the kids we're recruiting.